Good morning, students. Today discuss about problems on deviation. Okay. Last previous class discuss about what is the angle of incidence, angle of reflection, angle of deviation, and glancing angles also. Okay. Just recall the before class. First one, what is the angle of incidence? That means problems on deviation. Problems on deviation. First one, it is the rough surface, a light ray incident on the surface. It is the point of incidence. It is the AO is the incident ray, and the normal, the perpendicular line drawn between the plane surface and plane surface, that is the normal. It is the normal ray N1. The angle between normal and the incident ray is incident angle, and the angle between normal and reflected ray, it is the reflected ray. Reflected ray is called angle of reflection. And then the light ray straight line, they can travel with a straight line, but the deviation of angle D, that is the sum of the angles, that means angle I plus angle R plus angle D equal to 180 degrees. That means angle D is equal to 180 minus of angle I plus angle R. But from the first law of reflection, that is the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. That means angle I is equal to angle R. Then angle D is equal to 180 minus 2i, that is 180 minus 2i. That means it is the D is equal deviation angle, deviation angle D is equal to 180 minus 2i. In case of example, the incident angle is 45 degrees. The incident angle is 45 degrees. What is the angle of deviation? That means angle of deviation D is equal to, what is the formula? 180 minus 2i. 180 minus 2 into I value 45 degrees. That means 180 minus 2, 45 are 90. That means it is a 90 degrees in the deviation angle. But that is the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. That means I equal to R equal to 45 degrees. Then the angle of deviation D equal to 90 degrees. That is the angle of deviation. In case of, that means example, reflection angle is 30 degrees. What is the deviation angle? It is also I is equal to R is equal to 30 degrees in plane mirrors. That D is equal to same as 180 minus 2R or 2I. That is 180 minus 2 into that R value 30 degrees. 180 minus 60 is equal to 120 degrees is the deviation angle. 120 degrees is the deviation angle. Okay. Next, what is the formation for the angle of deviation? That means it is the number of reflections are there. What is the formula? D. That is the deviation produced n reflections from the two plane mirrors inclined at an angle theta. That is D is equal to deviation. D is equal to n into 360 minus 2 into theta. That is the formula. That is the where n is even number. That means the deviation produced by n reflections from two plane mirrors inclined at an angle theta. Then the D is equal to n into 360 minus 2 theta. When theta is uneven, when n is even. Okay, that is the first. What is the formula? That is angle D is equal to 180 minus 2i. 180 minus 2i. That is in case of what is the glancing angle and glancing angle of incidence and glancing angle of reflection also. That means it is the glancing angle of incidence. It is the angle of glancing reflection. That means the angle made by the incident ray with the mirror, with the surface. It is known as angle of incidence glancing angle. That means what is the angle of reflection? Glancing angle of reflection. That means the angle made by the reflected ray with the surface is known as reflection glancing angle. Okay, that is. In these formulas use what are the conditions? Next one, some solve the problems. Okay, students, see the figure. What is the deviation suffered by the ray on reflection in the figure given? Okay, first to find the deviation angle. That means it shows the figure. That is the incident ray. It is incident ray. That means the angle made by the normal with the incident ray is 60 degrees. That given value I is equal to 60 degrees. Then find the reflection angle and deviation angle and glancing angle also. Okay, listen, that means it is the angle of incidence is 60 degrees. That means first from the first law of reflection, angle I is equal to angle R. That is equal to, that is the R is 60 degrees. That reflection angle is 60 degrees. Okay. Next one, what is the deviation angle? That means it is the D. D is equal to the sum of the angles 180 minus 2i. That means 180 minus 2 into what is the value? 60 degrees. 180 minus 260 is 120. That is equal to 60 degrees. 180 minus 120, 60 degrees. That is also deviation suffered by the reflection on the figure. That is the deviation angle. That is the deviation angle. Okay. What is the glancing angle of incidence? What is the glancing angle of reflection? That means the angle made by the incident ray with the plane surface, with the rough surface or surface of the mirror. That is the glancing angle of incidence. That means it is also normal to 90 degrees. That means GI is equal to 90 minus, that is the incident angle. 90 minus, what is the angle of incidence? 60 degrees is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, this is also 180 degrees minus 12. In case of 90 degrees minus, that is the angle of glancing angle of incidence is equal to 90 minus I is equal to 90 minus 60 is equal to 30 degrees. In case of what is the glancing reflection angle, that is the GR. GR is equal to, it is also 90 minus with a normal 90 minus R. 90 minus, what is the R value? That is also 60 degrees is equal to 30 degrees. That is 90 minus 60 is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, that is the reflection glancing angle. Reflection glancing angle. Okay, that is. Okay, this figure indicates only for incident angle, that is the 60 degrees. What is the reflection angle? What is the glancing angle of incidence? What is the glancing angle of reflection? What is the deviation angle? Okay, to find the first one, what is the deviation angle? D equal to 180 minus 2i. But from that is the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, then that is 60 degrees. 180 minus 2 into I formation, that is equal to 180 minus 2 into 60. 260 is 120, that is the 60 degrees is the deviation angle. What is the glancing angle of incidence? Also 30 degrees. Glancing angle of reflection also 30 degrees. That is the first one problem. Next, another one problem. Listen, students. A ray of light after reflection from a plane mirror suffers a deviation of 30 degrees. Find the angle between the incident and the reflected rays. It shows first to draw the figure. It is the surface. It is the normal. Okay, that is the incident ray and the reflected ray. It is the deviation. The angle by the D is equal to how much value? 30 degrees. The ray of light after reflection, that is the incident ray. It is the reflected ray. After reflection, it is the point of incidence. From a plane mirror suffers a deviation of 30 degrees. Find the angle between, it is the incident ray. This is also incident ray. This is also reflected ray. What is the angle between? Find the angle between incident and reflected rays. Incident and reflected rays. It means first, that is the D is equal. What are the given values? Given D is equal to 30 degrees. What is the relation between deviation angle and incident angle and reflected angle? D is equal to 180 minus angle I plus angle R. That is D is equal to 30 degrees is equal to 180 degrees minus of angle I plus angle R. That means it can transfer to angle I plus angle R is equal to 180 degrees minus, here also the transfer plus 30 can transfer that side, that is a negative. 180 minus 30 degrees is equal to 150 degrees. That is the angle between the incident ray and reflected ray is 150 degrees. What is the angle of incidence? Only for angle of incidence. But generally from the law of reflection, angle I is equal to angle R. Then angle I plus angle I is equal to 150 degrees. Angle I is equal to 150 by 2, that means 75 degrees. That is the angle of incidence. That is the angle of incidence. But it is only for the angle between the incident and reflected ray is 150 degrees. It is also finished. Okay? But in case of what is the angle of incidence? What is the angle of reflection? Just angle I is equal to angle R. Then the angle I plus angle I equal to 150 degrees. That means 2 into angle I equal to 150. Angle I is equal to 150 by 2 is equal to 75 degrees. That is also same as angle R. That is the angle of reflection is same. That is the 75 degrees is the correct answer. Okay. Next one. Listen students. What is the maximum angle of deviation possible for a ray incident on a plane mirror? That means it is the maximum deviation, that is the minimum angle of incidence. Minimum angle of incidence. Minimum means it will be 0. Example, it is a plane mirror. The normal, okay, it is the normal. In case of the angle of incidence, that means the light ray travel in perpendicular direction incident on the plane mirror, that is equal to exact 90 degrees. It is the incident angle. That means it travel, that means I equal to 0. What is the angle of incidence? That means the angle made by the normal with the incident ray is known as angle of incidence. But it is the normal and the angle of incidence are same. That means incident ray is same, but the angle of incidence is equal to 0. The ray will to reach the the point of incidence, then reback same in path, reverse in path. That means it is R also 0. It is R also 0. Why? That means the angle made by the reflected ray with the normal is known as angle of reflection. Then that is the angle of reflection also 0. That means what is the angle of deviation? That means D is equal to, it is the maximum value. That means D is equal to 180 minus of angle I plus angle R. That is the angle I plus angle R. That means angle I equal to 0. D is equal to 180 minus of 0 plus 0. That means it is also 180 degrees. That is the D, maximum angle. That means it is the maximum. What is the maximum angle of deviation? That is the 180 degrees is the maximum angle of deviation. That means the light ray travels in perpendicular. That means it is a travel in perpendicular path with the mirror. That is example, it is a straight line path. That is the mirror also. This is example, the light ray travels in straight line. That means it is the angle of incidence is 0, and then the light ray to reach the angle to reach the point of incidence and then reback to the same medium. That is the angle of reflection also 0. Then the maximum angle of deviation D equal to 180 degrees. Maximum angle of deviation is 180 degrees. That is the maximum angle of deviation. When that means I equal to 0 and r equal to 0, then the angle of deviation is 180 degrees. And the next one is the incident ray and the reflected ray from a mirror are perpendicular to each other. That means the angle of incidence is dash. Okay, that means it is the rough surface, it is the normal, it is the incident ray and the reflected ray. The angle between these, that is 90 degrees. The incident ray and the reflected ray from a mirror are perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular to each other. The angle of incidence is, okay, that means it is the perpendicular to each other. That means it is the angle of I and angle of r perpendicular to each other. That means I plus r is equal to 90 degrees. Then angle I is equal to angle r. Then angle I plus angle I is equal to 90 degrees. 2 into angle I is equal to 90 degrees. That means angle of incidence is equal to 90 degrees by, that means it is also 45 degrees. That is also 45 degrees. That means it is the angle of incidence. And the angle of reflection also same. That means it is r. They are mutually perpendicular to each other, exact 90 degrees. That means it is also they are perpendicular to each other, and the angle I and angle are same. That is the angle of incidence is 45 degrees. That is okay. The incident ray and the reflected ray from a mirror are perpendicular to each other. That is the incident ray. It is. Then it is the reflected ray. They are in perpendicular to each other, exact 90 degrees. That means what is the angle of incidence? That means the sum of the angle of incidence and angle of reflection is equal to 90 degrees. That means angle of I is equal to angle r. Then angle I plus angle I is equal to 90 degrees. I is equal to 45 degrees. That is okay. Next one. If the angle between the mirror and the incident ray is 40 degrees, that means it is the incident ray. It is the incident ray. The angle between the mirror and the incident ray, that is, this is 40 degrees. It is the reflected ray. What is the angle of reflection is? What is the angle of reflection is? That means it is the glancing angle. That means the glancing angle of incidence is 40 degrees. The remaining angle is, that means it is angle with the normal is I. With the normal is the reflected ray is reflection angle. That means it is the angle I is equal to 90 minus, that is the glancing angle of incidence. Glancing angle of incidence. It is 90 minus 40 degrees is equal to 50 degrees is the angle of incidence. Angle of incidence. But the angle of reflection, that means angle I is equal to angle R. That is the first law of reflection. That means it is also 50 degrees. That means it is the angle between the mirror and the incident ray. It is the incident ray. It is the incident ray. That means that is the angle made by the mirror with the incident ray is 40 degrees. This is also glancing angle of incidence. That means to find the angle of incidence, angle I is equal to 90 minus of glancing angle of incidence. That is 90 minus 40 is equal to 50 degrees. That is angle I is equal to angle R. That find the angle of reflection is 50 degrees. Angle of reflection is 50 degrees. That is okay. Next one, listen. If the angle between the mirror and the reflected ray is 60 degrees, find the angle of reflection, angle of incidence and the glancing angle of incidence. That means it indicates it is the normal. The angle between the mirror and the reflected ray, that is the reflected ray, that is the incident ray. The angle made by the reflected ray with the mirror is 60 degrees. That is the 60 degrees. To find angle of reflection, angle of incidence and angle of glancing angle of incidence also. To find the angle of reflection, angle of incidence and glancing angle of incidence also. Okay, that means it is the R value. R is equal to 60 degrees. That is the glancing angle of reflection. Sorry, glancing angle of reflection is 60 degrees, not in reflection. That means it is also 60 degrees. That means R plus 60 is equal to 90. But angle of reflection plus glancing angle of reflection is 90 degrees. It is also 60 degrees is equal to, that means angle R. Therefore, angle R is equal to 90 minus 60 degrees is equal to 30 degrees. That is the angle R is equal to 30 degrees. Then angle I also 30 degrees from the first law of reflection. That means angle R equal to 30 degrees, angle I is also 30 degrees. And then what is the angle of glancing angle of incidence? That means angle I plus glancing angle of incidence also 90 degrees. That means glancing angle of incidence is equal to 90 minus 30. It is also 60 degrees. That is the glancing angle of incidence also 60 degrees. That is okay. Okay, students. These are the problems on deviation. To find the incident angle, find the reflection angle. Next, angle of incidence. Next one, glancing angle of incidence, glancing angle of reflection. Next, deviation angle also. Deviation angle also. Okay? Okay, students.